And because obviously there are quite a small percentage of the male population that are like this bad, like that guy was.
What happens when women don't ever, come to terms with themselves? Bad shit happens.
But I do wonder what it's like to live in their world, right? Because I was just thinking, like, how do they feel when they get strong female characters on TV? I had to just look up her name, Kate Kennedy. Right. She's like fucking 6'4" or something. She's one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. And she was in Halo. And she's basically a strong female character who is literally physically strong. Right. And I wonder how they feel when they watch a woman like that doing that kind of role. I wonder what goes through their heads.
I've been very curious about it. Like I've gotten down a couple of rabbit holes on Reddit. And it's terrifying, actually, how they do think, because it may be the small minority of men, but then they are able to find each other and egg each other on and feed each other and make it even worse. Because as soon as there's like one guy who has like a glimmer of like, what if women aren't? Then the rest of them are like, no, they are. They absolutely. Like they've created a community where they just, like, there was one guy who was even asking for instruction on how to red pill. And he was like, I'm kind of questioning some stuff and like maybe, and everyone else was like, no, stay the course, guy, stay the course. Just, you can do it. Cut women out. Don't talk. Like they were coaching him on how, and it's like, it's weird that a lot of them are trying to improve themselves, right? Like this guy was like, like I've forgotten about trying to find a woman and I'm going to focus on myself. I've gone to the gym. I'm like reading more. I'm doing all these things to improve myself. And instead of, he was like, now I don't see women as an enhancement to my life. I see that they are something to conquer, right? Like that's the thought process. So they're improving themselves, but not for any other reason other than to like continue to be shitty about it. And then they can be like, it's like those guys like, I don't understand what's going on. Like I work out, I have a good job, I have this, I have that. Like, why won't women like me? It's like, well, you're probably not approaching women and probably personality is lacking. And just because you work out doesn't mean women are going to flock to you. Like men just assume they just pop up and women are going to be dropping at their feet. Without having to make any sort of effort or have any sort of personality.
Which hardly ever fucking happens. Like first of all, like in any regular man's life, if you think about the percentage of women that you encounter in your life, 0.00001% are just going to fall at your feet.
And usually they tripped over something.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, and then if they do, you need to question what's going on. It's probably a honey trap.
But it's so weird. Like, it's amazing to me because then I see these other women who are like, I've been with my husband for 20 years, and all of a sudden he has just gone hard down the Andrew Tate road. And it's like this couple, they've been married for 7 years. They planned to start a family together. 7 years into their marriage, they talked about having a family, got pregnant. This guy's friend was baby trapped. And then he came home and started accusing his wife of baby trapping him. And she was like, what? Like, she laughed at him because she thought it was a joke. And he was like, then he got left and went to stay with his friend because she was dismissing his feelings. And it's like, we planned this baby together. And he's like, you baby trapped me. She was like, we're already married. What else?
Yeah.
But they just, I don't know what happens with these like men who are in seemingly normal, healthy relationships that just pop the red pill and then they go, wow.
Yeah. And another aspect to that, I think, is that reliance on appearances. That if somebody is presenting a certain way, then they must be that way. And then, and be based on that appearance of what I think that should look like. I did that video earlier that it was based on what that guy was saying about prehistoric gender roles and all that stuff. And I gave like a sensible response and saying, okay, but if you take this alpha, sigma, Chad mindset thing that all men are supposed to be, like we're supposed to be these providers, tribe leaders and resource givers and all this shit. And like you do realize that the definition of what this alpha male sigma mindset thing is, the only men that fulfill that are the fucking Navy SEALs and the Royal Marines and the SAS. Like the men that are capable of being that are so vanishingly small, it's nearly zero.
But it's also like men who are confident and secure within themselves. They know who they are and they're comfortable with who they are. They don't need to apply labels to themselves like alpha and beta because they don't need to prove to anyone
Exactly
who they are, right? Like all these men who, and that's what the scariest part is, that they lack confidence, they lack any sort of self-awareness or self-sufficiency or self-love, for lack of a better phrase. So they glom onto these men that tell them it's okay, all you got to do, buddy, all you got to do is make a little money, treat them like shit, and get some muscles, and you'll be fine. And they're like, yeah, I have to work on myself for who I am as a person.
we know this bloke, right? And he's kind of like quintessentially what I imagine of what a real masculine man is. Like he doesn't need to tell you anything about himself. It is just there when you see him. Okay, he's 6'4". He's a fucking paratrooper. Like these guys are killing machines. And so the Northeast, we have some quite rough pubs and stuff up here. And he just walks into this pub and he's like, yeah, can I have a glass of rosé wine and some fried salmon or whatever it was that he had, poached salmon, right? And then everyone else is ordering pints and all that shit and eating steak and chips. And he's like, no, I'll have my rosé wine, please, and my poached salmon. Fucking reads books.
If you're comfortable in yourself, you don't need to impress other people. It's like men who are afraid of ordering cocktails. Like, you know what? A Cosmo is fucking delicious. If you are not secure in yourself to drink a pink drink, that's a you problem. Like,
yeah, exactly.
But it's like everybody thinks everybody's watching them. Everybody thinks everybody's judging them. It's like people who can't go to a movie by themselves because what are people going to think? Nobody even notices you. Like, who do you think you are that people are paying attention to you wherever you go? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. But everybody's so wrapped up in their own image.
I think the mating strategy that they would call it, the mating strategy that would work for me has always been that I don't give a shit. Like I'm just me and I just turn up and I'm scruffy and unkempt. I'm socially awkward and I'm a bit weird, but it works because I'm myself. And then the people that I'm around know, like, I think people get a sense of that like they get this, they get like this unconscious feeling about people that like, is this person being genuine or not? And like, if you are being genuine, that is worth more than being a muscle-bound hunk with a fake personality and a little bit of cash. If you act like yourself, that will go way further.
And that's exactly it. Like, it's exhausting to try to be somebody else. And then at what point does that end, right? Like you can't play that role forever. So then when you drop the charade, what if you are now someone that person wouldn't have been gravitated towards or been attracted to, right? It's like, again, I go back to Reddit. There's like a Tinder Reddit where guys and women, men and women, will both post screenshots of the beginning of a conversation. And then it's like, what do I do next? And it's like, you don't go to Reddit to ask other people for their personalities. You respond in the way that you're going to respond.
Exactly.
And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. This isn't fucking Cyrano de Bergerac. Like, you're not have somebody in the bushes feeding you lines. Just be yourself. And if it doesn't work with this person, there is somebody else. Or be comfortable enough with yourself. Like, why does... I mean, I know this is rich coming from somebody who's been in a relationship for 27 years, but like, how come nobody is comfortable being with themselves?
But this is what I would say, actually. Like, if you've been in a relationship 27 years, surely that says something, right? That the fact that your relationship functions and you're both comfortable with being yourselves in that relationship and the relationship still works. Like, you wouldn't be able to be with somebody that long if you were faking it. And if you had to ring somebody up every 5 minutes going, what do I say next? It wouldn't fucking work.
No, and we've never been anything but ourselves with each other because both of us walked into it not expecting it to be a long-term relationship. So we walked in completely ourselves with zero expectations, and here we fucking are. But like, it's, I think people put too much pressure on themselves and put too much pressure on relationships and too much pressure on the other person. Like, just go with it. See where it goes. Be who you are. If it doesn't work out, there's always going to be somebody else. But there was like that passport bro we were talking. I saw a video. I think it was one. I don't know if it was one you sent me or one that I saw where he was like doing the math of like why he's a passport bro. And he was like, well, there are, I don't know, I can't remember the numbers. Like there are 32 million Black women in the United States and 80% of them are obese. So that means there's only 8 million, there's only 8 million non-obese Black women in the United States, and half of them have herpes. So that means there's only 4 million. And then like how many are in relation? And he broke it down to make it sound like there's 3 women in all of the United States that are worthy of him.
Which he was not a catch. He can't even change a smoke alarm battery.
So that's why he's got to go to Africa, which is the passport bros go to other countries.
But you had to go to the right Africa, according to him. You don't go to West Africa. No. You have to go to Ethiopia or Uganda, according to this bloke.
Yes, you can't go. Yes. And then that one video, he's like, I don't know what it's like in Brazil or the Philippines, but I can tell you in Africa, it's...
Yeah.
Are you kidding? Are you kidding?
Idiot, man. And then when you get them over there and then they divorce you for somebody that is actually a decent human being who is what they claim to be and is just nice to them and treats them well, and they leave you for him, then, you know.
Yeah, because he wasn't going over there and, like, seeking to court and woo. He just wanted to, like, club a woman over the head and bring her back. And then force her to be, like, doesn't matter what she's like, what he's like, if they're compatible with their personality, like...
He probably watched 90 Day Fiancé and thought it was a handbook.
Those shows are the worst.
Definitely. Fucking hell. Man, I think another thing that particular group of man needs to really get comfortable with is rejection, right? And I don't know what your life was like before you got married, but like we all get rejected, right? All the time from everything in life, whether it's a friendship, whether it's for a hookup, whether it's for a job. Rejection happens way more often than being accepted.
But I don't know what it is. Like I also see like a bunch of men who will compliment a woman. She'll say thank you, and then they get angry because she wasn't like, oh no, stop, I'm not. She said, yeah, thank you, like yes, thank you for that compliment. And it's like they expect, I don't know what these men are expecting, like
Probably
women have never been complimented before. Probably like, oh my god, you like my shirt? Let me drop to my knees and suck your dick right here in the alley.
One of the funniest rejections I got once, right? It was at like a house party, and I was just chatting to this girl. We're chatting for ages. Anyway, all a bit drunk, and then so I just went to go make out with her, and then she went, "Don't embarrass yourself."
Why would you think that you had an opening to just go make out with her?
Oh no, yeah, we were talking, and then it was what happened at house parties when you're like 17.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
okay, Mr. Part of the Problem.
Yeah. But anyway, like we bumped into each other in a pub, like 'cause I laughed at the time, and I was like, "Oh, okay, now I get it." And then later on, we just happened to bump into each other in a student bar, and she's like, "Oh, I remember you." She's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I was such a bitch." I was like, "No, it was hilarious." I
deserved it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's one of those things like when you're drunk and then you think there's chemistry between you and the other person, but like this is part of growing up, is you're learning when that actually is the case, or you just get along. Like, okay, you're having a good conversation, but because you're drunk at a house party, not everybody's there to hook up, right?
And it's also like you handle the rejection well, where there's a man, I think there's a man in India who's suing a woman for $3 million Singapore, thank you, because she just wants to be friends. $3 million is suing her for.
I think, well, that's a good place to fade to black.